This is a brain chip. A chip that gets surgically implanted under your scalp and into your skull. It's called a Neuralink.
Yeah, so the Neuralink brain chip can help with brain injuries.
The man leading the team to create this device is none other than engineer and entrepreneur Elon Musk. Maybe you think this whole thing sounds a little crazy, but before you dismiss it and say, Jesus, I am never getting a chip installed in my brain, watch to the end of this video to see if you change your mind. Are you or someone you love paralyzed? Do you know someone who's blind, has dementia, seizures, or extreme pain? All of these could be solved in the future with Neuralinks.
Our initial goal is to help people who are like quadriplegics or tetraplegics, like basically, can't move anything, to be able to operate their phone or computer faster than someone who's got working hands.
Skeptical? The basic concepts for creating a Neuralink are not new. Look at this example of work from a decade ago. Neuralink is building on top of this research and developing a device that is better in nearly every way. This is Sue. She has tetraplegia and is mostly paralyzed from the shoulders down. I want you to truly consider what her life is like. For nearly 15 years, she's required help for daily functions that many of us take for granted. Driving, walking, or eating are no longer solo activities. And you see that fairly large device protruding from her head? That's called a Utah array. Back in 2012, a research group called BrainGate 2 developed a device so she could control a prosthetic arm by just thinking about the movement she wants to do. Yeah, this is pretty much the closest thing you can get to telekinesis.
One of our participants was able to do something that, when all of us saw it for the first time, gave us all pause. She reached out with the robotic arm. She thought about the use of her own hand. She picked up that thermos of coffee, brought it close to her, tilted it towards herself, and sipped coffee from a straw. And that was the first time in nearly 15 years that she had picked up anything and been able to drink from it solely of her own volition.
Research has shown that when someone is paralyzed, neurons in the brain continue to function. They send electrical signals to the person's limbs, but because of a damaged spinal cord connection, the signals are never received. So what happens instead if you capture the signals and then send them to a prosthetic arm?
There was a moment of true joy, true happiness. I mean, it was beyond the fact that it was an accomplishment. I think an important advance in the entire field of brain-computer interfaces, that it was really a moment where we helped somebody do something that they had wished to do for many years.
Like Dr. Donahue said, this was an important advance in the field of brain-computer interface. Take a moment to appreciate how amazing this is, and then imagine the possibilities of what could come next. Elon and the team want to develop a brain-machine interface that helps paralyzed people have control of a computer keyboard and mouse, pretty similar to what was demonstrated many years ago. However, you know how I said that the electrical signals could get sent to a prosthetic arm? Well, those signals could also get sent to your actual limbs. So, in theory, a paralyzed person could have Neuralink implants in their brain and below the broken, injured spinal cord section to both send and receive the electrical signals. After enough training, the person would be able to walk again.
I think we have a chance with Neuralink of being able to restore full body functionality to someone who has a spinal cord injury. Meaning, I think we have a chance, I emphasize, a chance of being able to allow someone who cannot walk or use their arms to be able to walk again.
And that's not all. Because everything we as humans see, hear, feel, and do are just electrochemical signals in our brain, there's so much Neuralink can solve by having the chips implanted.
The reality is that almost everyone over time will develop brain and spine problems. These range from minor to very severe, but if you live long enough, everyone's going to basically have some kind of neurological disorder. And these range, from memory loss to brain damage. But the thing that's important to appreciate is that an implantable device can actually solve these problems. I think a lot of people don't quite realize that. But all of your senses, your sight, hearing, feeling, pain, these are all electrical signals sent by neurons to your brain. And if you can correct these signals, you can solve everything from memory loss, hearing loss, blindness, paralysis, depression, insomnia, extreme pain, seizures, anxiety, addiction, strokes, brain damage. These can all be solved with an implantable Neuralink. This is an extremely fundamental thing, and I think a lot of people don't quite understand that. The neurons are like wiring, and you kind of need an electronic thing to solve an electronic problem.
Still skeptical? In July 2019, Elon Musk and the Neuralink team released a paper documenting the technical achievements they'd achieved until that point. At that time, many specifications had surpassed state-of-the-art devices. However, the devices were not implanted in humans. One early sensor device was chronically implanted in a rat, shown here. A little over a year later, the team shared an updated version of the device and publicized they had implanted Neuralinks in pigs.
So this is a very important thing to demonstrate is reversibility. So if you have a Neuralink and then you decide you don't want it, or you want to get an upgrade, and the Neuralink is removed, is it removed in such a way that you are still healthy and happy afterwards? And what Dorothy illustrates is that you can put in the Neuralink, remove it, and be healthy, happy, and indistinguishable from a normal pig. The beeps you're hearing are real-time signals from the Neuralink in Gertrude's head. So this Neuralink connects to neurons that are in her snout. So whenever she snuffles around and touches something with her snout, that sends out neural spikes, which are detected here. And so on the screen, you can see each of the spikes from the 1,024 electrodes. And then if she snuffles around, touches her snout in the ground, or you kind of feed her some food, pigs love food, then you can see the neurons will fire much more than when you're not touching the snout. And that's what's making the beeping sound. All right, cool. So as you can see, we have a healthy and happy pig, initially shy, but obviously high energy and kind of loving life. And she's had the implant for 2 months. So this is a healthy and happy pig with an implant that is 2 months old and working well. Yeah.
Then, the craziest demonstration was unveiled in April 2021, when the team showed they had implanted 2 Neuralinks in a monkey. The monkey was then able to play a video game with no hands and just its mind.
After only a few minutes of calibration, we can use the output from the decoder to move the cursor instead of the joystick. Paige still moves the joystick out of habit, but as you can see, it's unplugged. He's controlling the cursor entirely with decoded neural activity. Our goal is to enable a person with paralysis to use a computer or phone with their brain activity alone. Because they wouldn't be able to move a joystick, they would calibrate the decoder by imagining hand movements to targets. One of the things the Neuralinks allow Paige to do is to play his favorite video game, Pong. To control his paddle, on the right side of the screen, Paige simply thinks about moving his hand up or down. We've removed the joystick altogether. Now that he's up to speed, let's increase the difficulty and see how well Paige can play with the Neuralink. As you can see, Paige is amazingly good at Mind Pong. He's focused, and he's playing entirely of his own volition.
Although this may seem like a gimmicky demo, it actually demonstrates great potential for paralyzed people to do practically the same thing with either prosthetics, computers, or even video games. Neuralink has submitted their human trials application and will begin the trials shortly. This company is just getting started, and I encourage you to continue learning about this tech. We at Neura Pod create videos about everything related to Neuralink. So if you're interested in more details about how this will work, how much it will cost, Elon's longer-term goals, or how Neuralink could be used for gaming, adult entertainment, or defense, please follow to stay informed about this crazy, awesome future.